Good morning, my name's Jodi-Anne and I'm here today to talk about the healing journey and the different types of work that needs to occur in order for us to heal. A lot of traditional counselling, psychology and psychiatry has focused on our thinking, our cognitive behaviour therapy type processes to change our thoughts and our reaction patterns, and of course on emotional processing and balancing up with our emotions. These are absolutely free, but there's a lot more that is required in order to find peace and happiness, to actually get that sense of peace within. So today I'm going to go through the different levels of attention that are required for deep healing to occur. So, healing from life's painful moments is a long and complicated process. We need to do work to release our conditioning and our defense mechanisms. We've got to release our painful emotions and entanglements, and we need to do work to soften our body and calm our nervous system. This eventually will help us find peace of mind and enable us to feel more relaxed in our body as it's no longer in fight, flight, and freeze, and that enables us to balance back up to enjoy life, connecting with ourselves and others. So yes, we need to do work at the mental level to alter negative thoughts and behaviours that result from those thoughts. But we also need to do work at the subconscious level to replace negative core beliefs so that we believe that we are deserving of good things, that we are lovable, that people can be trusted, and that life can be enjoyable. Our subconscious mind gets programmed predominantly from 0 to 7 when we just absorb everything that we hear. So depending on what we were told as a child, we will have all these beliefs in us around how life works, around us and whether we're good enough and whether we're lovable. And those play out in our behavior. Because it's operating subconsciously, we may not be aware that it's there, but it does happen. And so part of the healing process is changing those subconscious beliefs so that we no longer self-sabotage, we no longer stay small to protect ourselves or to hide because we're afraid that things are going to get us, that life isn't safe, etc., etc. So there's thousands of beliefs inside us that impact how we view the world and feel within it. And changing those subconscious beliefs will actually change what we see when we go out each day, because it alters how our brain filters the data when we're looking at a scene or in a particular place. And so there's too much information for our eyes to process. And so our brain actually filters it based on our subconscious programming to only show us the subset of the data that matches our beliefs about what's most important. So if our filter is abuse or danger, then that's what the scene gets scanned for, and we see all the potential dangers. And this is called a negativity bias, and it's actually programmed into us as a survival mechanism, and it's designed to help keep us alive. And this is back in the primitive stages of human development, where if we were out in the savannah and we were under threat from wild animals, we want to notice when the grass is rustling and it might be a predator that's there that's about to attack us. And so it makes sense from an evolutionary biological perspective that we are wired to look for those potential dangers and threats so that we can react instantaneously to run away, to fight if we have to, or to hide and freeze and stay still, hoping that the predator's not going to see us. And so these are automatic reactions that occur at that subconscious deep level, not the conscious part of the brain. It's more the hindbrain and the amygdala, the parts associated with the fight, flight, and freeze response. And if we start to change our subconscious beliefs so that they're more positive, then what the data gets filtered for changes. And so then we actually come out of that hyper alert state, and there's more we need to do to achieve that. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But as we alter those subconscious beliefs about life and about safety, we can actually then relax and start to see the beauty, the love, and the goodness that's around us each day. And of course, that makes life much more enjoyable. We all know work needs to be done at the emotional level to release all the layers of pain and emotional density that we've bottled up inside over the years. So every time we haven't been able to speak our truth, or that we were upset with someone and we weren't able to say it, if we weren't able to flee even though we wanted to because we felt unsafe, all of those reactions get stored in the body. And it stays in the body, locked in our muscles, and it's this density, this emotional tension inside that leads to our tight muscles and holding patterns that lead to the lower back pain, hip pain, neck pain, shoulder pain that people have, because our body's literally clenched, ready to react and to respond. And these emotions, that density, it stays in our body until we feel safe enough and strong enough to release it. And there's a part of us within that is, watching and determining when it's okay to let some of that come up, because the body does want to heal itself, but it doesn't want to overwhelm you. And life will keep bringing you events or experiences, real or imagined, such as flashbacks, dreams, intuitions, that feel similar to the original events or the people involved, because it's wanting you to feel that past emotion, that residue, and release it. And so that's why we attract in those similar experiences, or we have those dreams and flashbacks, because it's trying to get us to feel and process and release out of our body those emotions and that density. Many of us haven't known how to do that, and so all that happens is it ends up like a repetitive loop, and we feel really stuck, and we can end up depressed, etc., feeling helpless and hopeless and powerlessness. But in reality, that's actually our body trying to help us move forward. We just need the skills and tools to know how to process it so it actually completes instead of replaying. So as you release those original emotions, you no longer need to attract in the people or situations that cause you pain, hurt, or discomfort. Once it's out of your body, you don't need it anymore. It doesn't need to happen to trigger you to release, because it's already gone. So you can actually finally start to get different experiences in life. And as you start to love and accept yourself, treat yourself more kindly, you start to attract that from outside. It mirrors. And so life can become much more peaceful and enjoyable. And as we do all of this, as we learn the skills, we end up developing what's called emotional intelligence. And this enables us to recognize when emotion is building within us. We notice that we're starting to get tense or stressed or anxious. And we notice that we've been triggered by something. And with that intelligence that we have and the skills that we develop, we can then take the time to go and process that reaction within us so that we can then respond more calmly. So instead of reacting immediately, we can respond more calmly and how we want to. And so we don't explode immediately with grief, anger, resentment, or judgment. We're able to witness what's occurring inside and then respond how we would prefer to respond. These are just skills that we need to learn. It does take time to learn these skills and to practice them, and it also involves a lot of boundary setting, learning to say no, and doing inner child recovery work so that you feel safe inside. There are literally hundreds of little yous inside. There's the you who experienced the events of the past, and that younger self can actually be trapped in those scenes, reliving them as if they're still occurring now. And the reason for that is during trauma, we get overwhelmed, and the memory stamping process that occurs in the brain doesn't actually happen. In trauma, it gets fractured, it gets overwhelmed, and so the memory stamping doesn't happen, and the brain keeps it in our part of our brain, our memory, as if it's still occurring. It doesn't get stamped to say that that is past, it is done, it is over. And so because it's still active, this is why we can feel like it could happen again at a split moment. So we might not have actually been threatened or in danger or abused for decades, but we can feel like it's still occurring or it's still about to happen. And we live in that state of fear and high arousal. And that's because those memories have not been stamped, that trauma hasn't been completed and released from the body. And sadly, we end up staying on hyper alert, scanning and watching. Our body gets locked in fight, flight, and freeze. And this has negative health consequences. It's a high stress, high arousal activation state that leads to, to fatigue, to health issues, to reproductive problems, all sorts of issues, because our attention, our body's processing isn't occurring fully, because the blood flow when we're in fight and flight and the attention, the energy of the body all gets shunted to the muscles so that we can fight or run away. And our immune system, our reproductive systems, our digestive systems, etc., that gets kind of put on hold, because if we're in a life-threatening situation, it's more important to actually survive and get away from the threat than it is to digest our food properly or to reproduce and continue with another baby, with continuing the species. Survival is the most important thing. And so our body ends up being locked in a protection process instead of in growth and healing. And hence we see so many more people with allergies, with fatigue, with depression, anxiety, etc., because so many of us are living with high levels of stress and bodies that are not relaxed, calm, and in the growth healing mode. So we need to do work at the body level and the nervous system level to complete that trauma, and so our muscles can relax. And as we release that tension, that stress, and the trauma from inside us, as we complete it, our body can actually relax. It's not tense and it's not on edge, ready to react in a split second or locked into fight, flight, freeze, or flop. So healing from life's painful moments takes a lot of work. There's a lot that needs to be done. And I'm putting together everything that I've learned over the last 20 years or so in my own healing journey, and also from my work with clients, into an online self-study course, because I want everyone to be able to heal and actually come out of this, pain and stuckness that we can be in, that searching and yearning for peace. And so the course that I'm putting together is going to cover all of these aspects. So at the moment, it looks like there will be 9 main modules, looking at what is trauma and abuse and how it works, what are the impacts on us, on our body, an overview of how to undo the damage, and then detailed modules looking at working with our mind and our defense patterns to release these, working with our subconscious programming and beliefs and how to change those, how to calm our body and relax our nervous system, and how to release our emotions and honor our vulnerability, because we need to get comfortable feeling vulnerable and supporting ourselves through that vulnerability instead of pushing it away, armoring up, and soldiering on. So as we heal and release all of this, we actually also need to open to the new and allow goodness in. If we haven't experienced a lot of that, it can actually feel threatening, because it's so different, to actually have life going well. And as strange as that sounds, it's quite an interesting stage of the healing journey, because as everything starts to fall into place, to come together, and you start to actually, have more of what you want in life, it's like you kind of look over your shoulder, because you're like, it's so weird that everything's okay. And so we have to come to a place of accepting that and allowing it, and letting that goodness come in. And so that we can move forward into a future of love and welcoming that. So that's an overview of the course, which I'm hoping will be ready mid-2021. I was hoping sooner, but that's probably a more reasonable estimate. And in the meantime, I have a range of free information that is available on the Healing from Child Abuse and the Life Insights pages of my website to enable people to move forward with their journeys, to learn more and to understand what's involved. And I wanted to do this in particular because I know not everyone's going to be able to afford to do an in-depth course like I'm putting together. And I wanted you to have access to stuff that you can use and be able to support yourself. I can also work with people individually through individual appointments in person or online via Zoom or the phone. And I use a range of modalities, including family constellations, Psych-K for changing subconscious beliefs, tension and trauma release exercises for calming the body and the nervous system, and counselling with a focus on embodiment and healing from abuse and trauma. I also have the crystal light bed for helping to rejuvenate the body and release density. So there's lots of different things that I can assist with and that I love to do and show people. And I wish you well on your journey, and I wish it can be as peaceful and as happy as possible. Many blessings to you. Bye.